Ukraine's rookie president Volodymyr Zelensky will be welcoming Donald Tusk and Jean-Claude Juncker to Kiev later today. It's the first such summit since his election 2.5 months ago. The summit's expected to look at the continuing fighting against pro-Russian forces in the east of Ukraine, as well as the fight against corruption. Well, joining me now is our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, who's in Brussels. Darren, what can we expect from today's meeting?
Well, this is what the 21st EU-Ukraine summit. I think it's almost a year to the day since the last one was held here in Brussels. As you say, it is going to be in Kiev today with President Juncker and Tusk representing the EU, meeting President Zelensky. On the agenda, clearly, first of all, will be this idea that the Ukrainian constitution was changed back in February to commit that country to joining the EU and NATO, or at least being able to submit an application by 2023. And that means that Ukraine is going to have to reform an awful lot, not least of all when it comes to this idea of corruption. Numerous scandals in that country right now, not least of all moving away from the president himself, President Zelensky. One of his key backers is involved in a dispute about a nationalised bank back in 2016. And I think one of the key tests, not just for Ukraine moving forward and its anti-corruption tests, and that's one of the things that President Juncker and Tusk will be looking at today, but there's also the relationship between President Zelensky and some particular oligarchs. And of course on the agenda will be relations with Russia, unsurprisingly, given what has happened in eastern Ukraine and the continuing situation in Crimea. And indeed, Donald Tusk went to eastern Ukraine yesterday with President Zelensky, saying that he tweeted afterwards that it was a disastrous humanitarian consequence for local people trapped by what he called Russia's war. He said it was good meeting brave Ukrainian soldiers, the OSCE monitors and humanitarian agencies. And there will be an attempt to continue to keep the pressure up on Russia, very much welcoming from Kiev of the continuing sanctions against Moscow. So lots on the agenda today, but in reality, I think to a large degree, Alistair, will be a show of solidarity rather than any substantial reform, either in terms of those kind of Ukrainian-Russian relations or on trying to tackle the problems that might well lie ahead for potential Ukrainian membership of the EU many years down the line.
Darren McCaffrey in Brussels, thank you. Well, let's speak now to Peter Dickinson. He's a research fellow at the Eurasia Centre of the Atlantic Council, as well as the publisher of Business Ukraine magazine and Lviv Today. Thanks very much for joining us on Good Morning Europe. So, Zelensky came to power, promising change, closer ties with Europe. How much of a boost for him is this visit from EU leaders today?
It will be an opportunity for him to showcase his more serious side. Let us put it that way. He is obviously, as is well known, he is a former comedian. He is known as a very congenial, engaging character. But there are question marks about his ability as a statesman. This is going to be a very statesman-like event on the highest diplomatic stage. So it'll be a chance for him to show that he can operate at that level. He's already been to Brussels since he became president, so this is already a relationship that's developing, and he will be looking to show that side of his presidency, and also to gain some reassurances from Brussels after the last week's decision by the Council of Europe to readmit Russia, which caused shockwaves here in Kiev.
Now, just on Russia, you heard Darren there, perhaps our political editor, saying that this is an opportunity perhaps really just for solidarity over Russia. But are we going backwards here, do you think, in terms of what Ukraine can do?
Certainly, the key from a Ukrainian point of view at this stage is to get the reassurances that Europe remains united alongside Ukraine in its defiance of Russian aggression, in its stance against Russia. There are suggestions that there could be some movement in East Ukraine. Zelensky has been quite firm about his stance in terms of not making compromises with the Kremlin. However, There are suggestions that there could be some room for manoeuvre here. One of his promises as president in his presidential campaign has been to move the peace process forward, which is basically in a stalemate at the moment. There's not been any progress since the semi-ceasefire, let's say, of 2015. Basically, we've remained in this constant sniping and regular trench warfare has continued on a reduced level ever since. He's come in and said he's going to change that, and now he's got to produce results, and surely the EU will welcome that. So I imagine that they will be looking for any areas where they can find some common ground that they can then take to Russia and take maybe some baby steps forward.
And as far as Ukraine's potential EU membership is concerned, is it on track now to request accession as early as 2023, do you think?
Well, public opinion has certainly swung very conclusively behind it. I mean, the EU has always been a popular concept in Ukraine in a very general sense, in the sense that Europe is seen as a representative of progress, of a better standard of living. But there was often ambiguity over how much support the public had actually for a membership bid. That seems now to have gone. There seems to be a quite clear majority support across the country for EU membership. Is the country ready or not? Well, that's another question. I mean, I would say no, but they can look today perhaps to get some sort of a roadmap laid out. One of the issues they have is that there's no clear targets for Ukraine. Ukraine had very clear targets prior to receiving visa-free EU travel. They received that in the summer of 2017, and since then they've not had any specific targets to aim for in terms of a reform roadmap. So it will be extremely helpful if the EU could provide a further carrot, as it were, for them to aim for going forward.
Peter Dickinson, thanks very much for joining us on Good Morning Europe.